Welcome back to ABC2 Sports presentation of the greatest game, and here's another press box fact of the game. The Colt players each got a little over $4,700 for winning the championship game. The Giants players got just over $3,000, and that compares to about $68,000 for the New York Giant players after winning Super Bowl 42. Scott Garceau, Stan Charles from Press Box, Artie Donovan, Jim Mutscheller from the 1958 Baltimore Colts. And let's talk about what the Colts meant to this community after the 58 championship and how the city changed.
Well, everybody seemed to get excited, get involved. I know we went from, 40 or 50,000 to all of a sudden we're 60,000.
Sellouts, right?
People, and people were, the fact that we had won the thing. I know I believe it was the all-star, not all-star, but the inter-squad game for the police boys clubs in, I guess it was August or July in 1959. We had like 50,000 people.
For the inter-squad game.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
For an inter-squad
Did you
game.
guys have off-season jobs back then? Were you out working when you weren't playing football?
You had to be.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, right?
There wasn't enough to go around.
You heard of those dollar figures.
Hey, you're talking about the fans after the 58 game. They were fans long before the 58 game. I know a lot of guys. I worked for Shenley for 10 years at distillery, and if I had a beer with everybody I said I had a beer with them, I'd have to be 150 years old. And they were great fans before the 58 game. It just got bigger and bigger and bigger.
You know what really hits home, though, is the Colts corrals, which are now the Ravens Roost. I think they had started in 57, and the explosion of them after the 58 game, things like that, the fast food things like Amici's and Geno's, had it not been for that championship game, those things would have made it, but they really burst onto people's consciousness.
I remember the first Geno's they opened was down on North Point Road, and they invited maybe 8 of us to come down there for the grand opening. You know how he paid us off? In hamburgers.
Well, that must have been great.
15 cents. I took about 18 home and made one big hamburger out of the 18.
Not to say the game is better or worse than it was when you played, but does it look like the same game when you turn on the set today and watch NFL football?
Well, you really want to know?
Yeah, I do want to know, Artie. Tell me.
There's all a bunch of grabbing and holding, and a guy, like he gets hurt, he's laying on the ground. You got 10 people around him. You got the 3 trainers whispering in his ear, maybe hearing confession. You got the chaplain there, you got the doctor there, and then all of a sudden after 15 minutes, he jumps up and runs off the field.
Everything's
so
The game has changed. You guys didn't have to stop for instant replay, right? I mean, that's another area that's changed.
We had a lot of timeouts.
That's right. That's right. We've had 2 guys ran alongside of him. It was Schuler and Tassoff. And if somebody got hurt and they had to call a timeout, it was charged against you. Not like for now, they used to run out. If the guy could walk off, they'd pick him up and run him off the field.
They'd go out and get him, right? Scrape him off.
Through.
Hey, did either of you know what was going to happen when the game ended tied? Did you know there was going to be an overtime? It was the first time it had ever happened.
I did not. No, I didn't. I'm trying to figure out, what are we going to do now?
I know. You're all going to go to the locker room.
That's the most fascinating thing to hear now. It just absolutely amazes me that the players didn't know what the rules were.
Of course, here we are 50 years later, and Donovan McNabb didn't know.
Still doesn't know, right?
I don't know if they have a picture in your magazine, what the press the
Box.
magazine
Sun
you
Life,
put.
the
The
Sun
best
Life.
picture and the best thing I think happened in that 58 game is Sam Huff, who was a great pile of honor. He hits Raymond Berry, he knocks him out of bounds. Maybe Raymond was out of bounds, right in front of our bench. So he starts running after Huff to start a fight. You see, our assistant trainer, he's going our equipment manager, and we looks around and none of us behind him. And we go, up.
No troops. He did a U-turn, right?
That's a great picture, wherever it came from.
All right, Artie and Jim, thanks. We're going to continue our discussion, but before we go to break, another press box fact of the game. Wee Bubank was the Colts' winning coach for the 1958 championship. He was also the coach for the New York Jets when they upset the Colts in Super Bowl III, two of the greatest games and most talked about games in NFL history.